Go quickly through a very quick round of introduction. First of all, the team here at the UNGSC. So I can see Rafael. Rafael, go ahead.
Yeah, hello everybody. I am Rafael Avila Coya. And I am consultant here since the beginning of the year. I've been in working with the crowdsource activities since the beginning, and I am a long time user of OpenStreetMap in 2009, and collaborating in a volunteer basis and sometimes under contract since 2011 for humanitarian projects all around the world. But the last year, especially in Africa, West Africa and Central Africa, like Congo and Chad and other countries. So welcome everybody. I hope you will enjoy this training. We try to make it as more appealing as possible and more practical as possible. So I hope you will learn. Thank you. Gael, your floor.
Hi everyone. I am Montani, and here at UNGSC, I am managing the crowdsourcing activities and also doing some coding on the OpenStreetMap data. And I am an OpenStreetMapper since 3 years, and also I conducted a research project in Senegal fighting an endemic disease with crowdsourcing. So over to Rachele.
Hello all, I'm Rachele Amerini and I'm working also at the UNGSC. I'm working telecommuting now, how you can see, and I'm a mapper since 2009, and I have a focus on the educational part of the projects, working with schools and institutions. And nothing, I hope that you will enjoy the training today. Floor to Alessandro.
Hello everybody, I'm Alessandro Palmas. I joined the OpenStreetMap project since the 2007 as a volunteer. I collaborated with a lot of NGO and national and regional Italian agency with the civil protection, Red Cross. So I like this kind of collaboration. I hope to get a lot of feedback from you, and also I worked for 3 years as a project manager for the Italian OpenStreetMap community. Thanks.
Okay. So let me know if you can see the screen here. I just want to tell a little bit how everything started. So as most of you already know, UNGSC was in charge by the General Assembly to produce the topographic line maps, mainly at 1:50,000 scale maps, 50K maps. The way this process was done in the past, it was through a very tedious and lengthy process. Basically, what we were doing in the past was purchasing spot imagery. We would hire consultants. We would provide to them an Esri-based map package with the satellite imagery, all the robust and very lengthy data schema, especially on MGCP data schema, which is quite difficult to follow. We would provide them also a training related to how to edit and how to do the feature extraction. So basically to digitize exactly what they saw on the satellite imagery based on this specific, very specific workflow. And this would take time. Unfortunately, after all this effort, the maps would be produced. The quality of the maps were good, but the data was completely static. It was hardly updated. It was almost never double checked in the field, unfortunately. So we didn't know really if the accuracy was optimal, if it was good, perfect. And at the same time, based on the old satellite imagery that we were basing the feature extraction on, we were having the maps outdated quite rapidly and without any chance to update them in a flexible way. So on top of that, the problem was that the data was used specifically for only one purpose, and this was the 50K maps. It was designed, this data schema, only for the 50K maps. And it was used only for one specific output, and it's basically a PDF map at 50K scale. That's all. So it was really difficult to integrate this data with other mapping outputs and other deliverables and other activities that we were carrying out. So we thought of this in 2008 and to change a little bit the mindset, the paradigm. And instead of having everything done within Esri environment, with Esri tools, we wanted to embed ourselves into the trend of open data and open mapping, and to join forces and the strength with the community. That's why we wanted to do the feature extraction and the validation using different tools, different data schemas. But the good thing is that the output would be not just a 50K map, but a 50K map, but also it would be other different cartographic or geospatial products. Like, for example, base maps or ad hoc geodata services that we can also provide, or navigation tools or search with geocodings. So the idea was to grab the data once and use it multiple times. That was the old schema in order to produce those 50K maps. Now, obviously, the new proposed solution that we worked together with UNSOS to make reality in 2008 and 2009 was the use of a dynamic self-serving topographic map production. We would empower specific users in the missions to produce their own 50K and 100K topographic maps with the 2 clicks of a button. They would be able to select the specific area that they would be interested in, fetch automatically the latest data coming from OpenStreetMap and also other authoritative data sources, missions data and open source data. We would put them together within the application and generate in about half an hour a full-fledged topographic line map that can be used for operational purposes in the military and the civilian components within the missions. So everything seemed like a win-win situation. We would be able to fetch the data, to update it, and also joining forces with OpenStreetMap, with the foundation and with the rest of the partners, we would be able, as a UN, also to give all this data back to the community. And therefore, we would be helping the local communities and other partners who are working within the same areas of operations. So it seems like a very good idea, and that's what we proposed, and that's the idea. I want to very quickly go back to specifically to the Unite Maps initiative. I explained a little bit the background, how everything started, and what happened is that in August last year, in 2019, we got together at the Phosphor-G conference in Bucharest, Sun Missions, UNHQ and UNGSA. They were present, UNSOS, obviously, as the pioneers, but also MINUSCA and MONUSCO, as well as I said, UNHQ and UNGSA. So the idea was to even widening a little bit the scope of the project. So not just specifically to the production of 50K maps, but try to grab this data, mainly the topographic data, base data, and deliver the data through several outputs with a specific and different processes and workflows. So the idea, the objective in the end is to produce several mapping components that are extremely important for the missions, like for example the base map, the United Street map, that is taking data from OpenStreetMap. We are downloading, purchasing UAV and satellite, high-resolution satellite imagery. We are combining them in order, again, to enrich the data on OpenStreetMap, but at the same time, we are providing a base map, an image map, very much like what we have with Google, but specific to our areas of operations. At the same time, another benefit, another output is that with this data, we are also capable of creating geocoding systems. We are able to fetch the data related to points of interest or the names of cities and villages that are coming also from OpenStreetMap and also from our missions. We put them together and we leverage this data in order to provide this search output. We are also creating a navigation, a little bit the same. We are meshing the data from OpenStreetMap. We are getting the data from the mission through Koji related to patrol routes and supply routes. We are adding them together to provide an added value to our users in order to know the best route and the fastest route between a point A and point B. And everything, this is done seamlessly in a 2D and a 3D environment. That's why we are also providing the same set of applications and tools in a 3D solution. And finally, we are also combining data directly from you guys, from the missions, related to operational aspects of the mission. So all these data sets combined, but especially now, because this is what we are focusing on, OpenStreetMap data that is touching all these different features within the Unite Maps, everything combined is what is providing to our all users this added value that we are having and we are talking today about. Basically, the outcome is to provide a better operational picture to all the different mission components. But not only our peacekeeping missions, also the special political missions and other agencies, funds and programs. So we are combining, putting all the different mission components together, the military, the civilian, the administration, etc., and the substantive, obviously. And this is extremely important now, as you can imagine, with the situational awareness and all these different operations that we are having in the field. Obviously, we are trying to do this within our own constraints. We are getting data from the authoritative databases from our colleagues in New York. We are getting data with you from Koji and Moji. We are getting data, obviously, from OpenStreetMap, and putting everything combined is what it makes this initiative and this project really the strength on it. There is a governance, just very quickly on the initiative, on the Unite Maps initiative. There is at the top people like Jasenko, who have the vision and the strategy. They are there making sure that the funds are flowing in as well. We are joining forces with other strategic partners and we make sure that this initiative rolls and continues in the future. Then in the middle tier, there is obviously the more operational aspect, a technical committee and a project board that is in charge of making sure that the bottom tier, the implementation teams, are working seamlessly and together, so that all the different pieces of these workflows are working together. Very quickly, let me go through the architecture. And this is maybe something that you don't know what we are doing here at the UNGSC. This is the outside part. This is mainly focused on OpenStreetMap. We are obviously taking data from internal sources, the legacy MGCP databases that we've been ingesting for the last 8-10 years. We are taking data, obviously, from you guys on the missions, the points of interest, and other topographic data. We are gathering satellite and UAV imagery in order to create the source of the digitizing and the feature extraction within the OSM environment. We are taking data also from crowdsourcing sources, other available imagery, GPS traces, and other available open source WMS services. So we are combining all these two within the OSM environment. We are creating projects on the HOT, the Humanitarian OpenStreetMap Team Tasking Manager, that my colleagues will explain about later on. We are creating those projects as a way of communication with the different stakeholders, the different volunteers and contributors that are making sure that the data is flowing and is coming in constantly. We are doing this through mapathons as well. So as you can imagine here, this is the first session of a series of webinars that we will have with you. Hopefully every week we will be able to engage and collaborate with you with these specific training sessions, so that you build on top of the previous one, but at the same time they are individual enough, separate enough, so that you can follow them through without any problem individually and personally. So the idea with this engagement that we are having is that once we build up the community with you guys first, then we can run virtual mapathons in which we can invite other components, other contributors, other volunteers to come together with us and map and get the data flowing for our specific areas of interest. We are leveraging the internal capacity and the external community together in order to do this. Which tools we are using within OpenStreetMap? My colleagues here today will explain specifically about these two. ID, which is an online OSM editor, very simple to use, very visual, and the other one, which is the JOSM, which is based on Java. Which is more complex, but at the same time is more robust and more professional. And this is what our internal capacity consultants are using in order to add and ingest the data. So everything, all the data from OpenStreetMap goes into a huge database, which is the OSM database. We have nothing to do with this database, but the good thing is that through a series of scripts and tools, open source tools, we are duplicating the OSM database on premise within our central repository here at the UNGSC. We are obviously combining other databases in order to produce the different outputs that we see here at the top, the ones that I explained earlier, for example, a base map that is used as a context layer for web mapping applications. You all know about that. So we are combining the data from OSM and from the UN, and we are creating a specific what we call foreign data wrappers, specific views in which we are structuring the data that is coming from OSM for our own benefit and for the benefit of a specific outputs. So basically the magic is that we are taking the data only once from a single source like a OSM, but we are creating several different outputs. The one that, for example, Jasenko mentioned is the Maps on Demand application. Maps on Demand is what I explained earlier, is the online dynamic on-the-fly production of 50K and 100K maps. But not only that, we are also creating now what we call Focus Map, which is a very large-scale map with operational data coming from Koji and also some topographic data coming from OpenStreetMap. We are also creating on-the-fly urban maps at the scale of 5,000 and 10,000 of your areas of interest. And this is fantastic, and this is coming directly from OpenStreetMap and from obviously other sources like your databases. But not only there, we are also creating specific databases for raster tiles and vector tiles in order to create the base maps. And we are creating specific exports with ad hoc data structure so that you can use the way you want the data coming from OSM. So for example, if you have the need to extract dynamically in a view all the data related to, for example, health facilities and medical facilities, something that we are doing right now based on the COVID-19 outbreak. We are able to dynamically fetch the data from OSM and in real time update this data that it will be available to you as a layer seamlessly within an Esri environment, for example, and you will be able to dump that data on a map that you want to create for your own purposes. This is a little bit, in a nutshell, the architecture that we were trying to do. So this is the look and feel of the Maps on Demand application. We are going, based on Jasenko's request, we are going to schedule a specific session only tailored for the Maps on Demand. We are going to tell you how it works, where the data is coming, and how to use it, so that you can really leverage and make the best out of it. We are obviously creating different applications for ourselves in order to make sure that we are tracking the data progress. But I just wanted to mention here very quickly, although they are slightly outdated, they are 1 month old, but look at these statistics, how much the progress is being done in the number of edits for both the internal mapping capacity that we have within UNGSC and also the external capacity coming from other contributors and volunteers. So we make sure that the hedges, the barriers, the waterways, the highways, etc., are coming in from different sources, and they come together into OpenStreetMap, and we fetch that data on real time to make the different deliverables and outputs. So how to do this? We obviously need your help, and not just your help. We need your full contribution, your full support as ambassadors. We would like to expand the community of mappers, specifically on OpenStreetMap, for the benefit of all of us, not only these 3 missions, but also at large the UN and other communities. So the idea is that we are creating crowdsourcing activities relying on a new community that is being established a couple of months ago that is called UN Mappers. And you are part of the UN Mappers. As soon as you start contributing, you will see your contributions flowing in for the benefit of all of us and for the benefit of all those different cartographic and mapping outputs. So what we do, what different activities we are carrying out in order to increase the visibility and the number of UN mappers. We have created a point of entry for the OSM community with wiki pages. We have created a formal Unite Maps initiative wiki page. All these links will be given to you today, so don't worry about taking notes or anything. Everything will be available to you. We have created also a landing site for the community, for the UN mappers community, in which we have a scoreboard, a leaderboard with who has contributed the most, who is on the top of the chart based on the last 2 months. Because we are fetching the data dynamically and in almost near real time, so that we are able to change all these leaderboards for the different missions and the global one. Michael will be explaining about this later on. I think it's really interesting what we are doing there. Obviously, something really important is that since there are many people contributing now, there are actually more than 350 people who have contributed to our maps and to our data within the OSM environment. We need a robust way of telling the people how they have to contribute, how they have to digitize, how they have to classify the data based on what they see on the satellite imagery. This is why we have created a specific editing guidelines for each of the countries. Since the environment, the landscape in Somalia is very different than the one in Congo, we need to put together different editing guidelines for each of those missions. We explain specifically about how to classify, how to do the tagging within the OSM, but very visually, with photos, with examples, so that everybody is consistently mapping the same way. And this is very important so that we can do a proper validation, and we can make sure that all the different contributors internally and externally are doing the right thing at the right area. Obviously, we are using the publicly available, what I mentioned, the HOT or HOT Humanitarian OpenStreetMap Team Tasking Manager. We are updating our projects, our mapping projects, and this is the way we have to communicate with the external mappers. They would go to this website, they select an area to map, they lock it, they go to the OSM editing tools, they finalize, for example, the roads in that specific area, that task, and they mark it as finalized. Once this is done, we will be able to do a validation of the data, and automatically, as I said earlier, within the architecture, we are able to get this data immediately and put it for our users to be consumed through the Maps on Demand application for the generation of topographic maps, or also for the generation of base maps. This is the beauty and how the circle is closed. We are also doing other crowdsourcing activities. This is part of it. This is one of the, this webinar is part of more crowdsourcing activities so that we can increase the number of UN mappers. We can bring more people together. A training session. Ideally, we were planning to go to your missions and do a face-to-face training. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus outbreak and pandemic, we are not able to do it, and this is why we are engaging with you through these different webinars. At the end of each 3 webinar sessions, we will do a mapathon in which you will be also involved, and we will be involving other stakeholders, other contributors and volunteers. And who are those? Who are the target audience? So basically, the first ones are you. the GIS officers and GIS staff in the peacekeeping missions. But not only, soon we will have to increase the number of contributors. The next ones will be within your missions. You will need to talk to your military colleagues, to people in logistics, in security. I'm sure that all of them will need data, and obviously it will be easy for them to be convinced that they can do the data themselves as well. They can join the UN Mappers community and increase the number of edits and the data and the accuracy and the completeness of the data. But not there, we shouldn't stop there. We should contact the different GIS working groups that you guys are managing in the missions, in your areas of responsibility. We should engage with UN funds, agencies, programs, specialized agencies in the field. I know that there are people in WFP, in OCHA, in UNICEF, etc. There are in some cases GIS specialists that would like to have better data over your areas of interest. Let's bring them together so that we can all map together in order to better have a good data. Let's go one step further. Let's bring international organizations and NGOs who are working in Somalia, in Congo, in Central African Republic, and elsewhere, probably in the next few months. Let's bring also to the community of UN Mappers remote contributors, people who have nothing to do with the UN, but would like to give their contribution, their time, their knowledge, so that we can benefit, we can leverage their expertise, and we can benefit from their time and contribution. Let's bring academia and local governments so that they can again come together to the community. This is a little bit what we are doing with the crowdsourcing activities. There are many things, and obviously what we need for that is a communication strategy that we are also taking into account. We are working with you guys and also with the communication and outreach unit in New York in order to come up with a strategy of social media to make sure that we have a branding, a logo, a proper naming, so that people inside and outside the UN, they know us and they see as a single community of UN Mappers. We have opened actually Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, YouTube channels that you can follow, you can subscribe. My colleagues and Rachele will be also explaining about these things. We are even thinking to create some t-shirts, some caps or stickers or mugs with the UN Mappers community. We know we want everyone to know us and know what we are doing so that we can bring more people together for our own benefit. This is the idea of increasing the data in terms of completeness and accuracy. And obviously, we are also working with other partners, other established partners and active members of the OpenStreetMap community, like, for example, the Foundation, Missing Maps, the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. We are joining mailing lists and other working groups. We have created an article we have just published. I don't know if you had the opportunity to read it. It was announced last week about us engaging with high schools within the context of the COVID-19 outbreak. And there are high schoolers and teachers who want to contribute to what we do, to the data in our areas of interest through OpenStreetMap editing tools. We have worked together with them so that they can join this community and we can benefit from that. There is an article about this on the technology website, and thanks to Rachele and the rest of the team. Obviously, we need to be present also in conferences and events. We plan to be there on the State of the Map annual OSM conference, the FOSS4G, the open source annual conference as well, the HOT Summit, etc. So that all these different activities combined can be joined, put together in what we call the UN Mappers, this community in which now you belong to, for the benefit of all these different geospatial outputs that I mentioned earlier, base maps, topographic maps, etc. We are creating a wealth of applications in order to make sure that all this data is available for the people who need it, us in the UN and even outside in the open source community. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will be very happy to take them. I think I did it within 40 minutes, really quickly. The idea obviously is that in the next coming sessions as well, we will be explaining specific applications and specific workflows so that all the different pieces together are well understood. Okay, so thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments, anything, and if not, thank you very much, and we can move on to the next part of this session. Thanks. Don't be shy. Come on. I'm sure there are comments or questions.
Diego, this is Epa.
Yes, Epa.
Yeah, I'm a bit curious to know how you do when these contributors have, created the data through OSM editing tool, and of course they have edited the data covering the areas that you haven't been, you are not familiar with. What are the strategies you have when you to verify and to to validate those data that contributors have?
Yeah, this is a very important question. So there are some concerns well understood about the accuracy of the data and how this data gets validated. This is a very valid question. First of all, I wanted to say that comparing the outputs, the topographic maps that we are producing now with this new workflow, and the ones that we were producing with the previous MGCP workflows, we see that the data and the outputs, the 50K maps, are extremely accurate with the ones that we are doing now. We have established both internal and external workflows and a robust documentation that will be shared with you as well to perform both visual, manual and automatic validation and quality control checks of the data that has been ingested, both by our internal contributors, our internal consultants, and also the people who are contributing from outside the UN, so that we make sure that the data that is being added into OpenStreetMap, once it's been replicated within our database at the UNGSC, it goes through a filtering of QC before it reaches the outputs, like the topographic maps or the base maps, for example. So rest assured that we are following these robust validation workflows. But you could say, okay, maybe there could be, it could happen that there is some people doing vandalism as well. Well, what I can tell, based on, and maybe Alessandro and Rafael will explain more in detail about this, is that whenever there is a problem that some people are changing things on purpose, there are 99% people who are checking those edits, those areas of interest, making sure that the data is reverted. Because the good thing about OSM is that it keeps track of the whole history of the data. And if there is something that is wrong, that is not good, those changes can be reverted immediately. And the data is a little bit like in the Wikipedia. There are some people really looking at the data in those areas. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that the reason why we want to also engage with the local communities is because they have the knowledge. Not only you are living in the field, but those other people living in Somalia, in Central African Republic, or in Congo, they have the knowledge. They know what's going on in the field, on the ground, so that potentially people like those can go to those areas, or maybe they even live. They live in those areas, and we can make sure that all that knowledge about the ground is ingested into OSM. So it's really a win-win situation with this, with the QC and with the validation tools. More about things will be discussed about these things. So if there are no more questions, really thank you very much. We have consumed 1 hour for this introduction, and we can move on if you want. Let us know, okay? We are really excited for having you here. So thank you very much, and I guess, Rafael, over to you.
So, well, just mentioning about the last thing that Diego said about vandalism, we will talk more in depth, I think, in one of the last training days. So don't worry, because we can discuss more about this and say how we care, how we do gardening in our database. So vandalism is not a problem as it could be. Well, in any case, there are vandalism that is not on purpose. I mean, there are users that are newbies and they make some changes that are wrong. And then there is some very rare and not very common vandalism that people simply don't want to do good things, and they do some bad things. But as you can imagine, like in Wikipedia, we can get we have some tools to take care of these few people that do bad things. Well, as Diego more or less pointed out, we will do a series of trainings with 2 mapathons in between. We will try all the time to be the most practical possible, so that you learn the most possible from OpenStreetMap, what is this project about, and how we can contribute to the map, how we can map, how we can contact the other communities, and how we can agree with them on how we have to map everything. So we will try to be as more practical as possible. In this first slot, I will just introduce you what is to make an overview of what is the OpenStreetMap project, and talk a little bit about the goal of the project, the history, how it is organized, and some legal aspects about the data. So, first of all, OpenStreetMap is an initiative to create and provide free geographic data by anyone. I stress anyone, because normally we think that cartography is only open to people that have some knowledge, years knowledge, and that have studied geography before. But this is not the case with OpenStreetMap, because anyone without any background on GIS can join. Me, myself, for example, I joined in 2009, and I didn't have any GIS background. So I learned to map because I loved the maps since I was a child. and just following tutorials and things like that, because I didn't know anybody and I didn't have any access to any course or any training. I was learning from myself. So I've been giving some training to kids of 14 years old, sometimes even kids of 11, 12 years old from a school in United Kingdom, and I can assure you that they can do mapping. You know, not very complicated things, but they can go on the ground, gather data, and then edit the data with ID or with a OSM. So this is possible. So this is one thing that is important. It's open to anyone. The data that we produce is going to a geographic database that is based in London, and this database is mainly fed by volunteers that usually call OSM mappers or mappers. Mappers can be and are in the most of the cases volunteers. Sometimes there are paid mappers also, but in general we can say that the OpenStreetMap project is a volunteer project, volunteer-based project. If you go to the OpenStreetMap.org website, you will find already some maps there that they are showed like a project showcase. This is because the data that we produce is free and is readily available in a way that you can simply access all the data and do with the data whatever you see fit. In the OpenStreetMap database website, you will see that you can see some layers, map layers, that are there just to show the possibilities that you have if you want to produce maps. For example, we have the standard map. We have a cycle map that is more focused on people cycling. We have a transport map that shows, especially for the cities, the metro and the underground and the bus lines, everything with the numbers. And then you have a humanitarian layer that is more focused on humanitarian areas. That is very interesting for us, for example. So as Diego pointed, OpenStreetMap has a philosophy that is similar to the Wikipedia. As Diego said, for example, if you make any change to the database that is wrong, any wrong mapping or maybe even vandalism, we make sure that all the data, all the versions of the objects that we produce in OpenStreetMap are there still. So if something happens, we can always revert to the last version, and everything is like before. The same way as we do with Wikipedia. And yeah, Wikipedia and OpenStreetMap is open to anyone, but of course there are some differences that are important. In OpenStreetMap, we normally research originally the data. I mean, we create the data through survey or through remote mapping with aerial imagery or with drone imagery, everything. While in Wikipedia, you know, they always write the articles referring to other works. This is a difference. The second one is very important. We are even much stricter about copyright. So not even fair use is allowed. We don't allow any mapper to use any source of data that is copyrighted and that didn't give the permission to be used for mapping with OpenStreetMap. This is something that you will see, for example, with Google Maps. You cannot use them. You cannot use paper maps that are copyrighted and you didn't get the permission. You cannot even use Google Street View, even if you think that, okay, nothing will happen, because it will happen if they find out, and they will sue us. So we are really strict about that, and we don't allow any mapper to use copyrighted data that we don't have a permission. The third one is interesting. because OpenStreetMap is really, really horizontal. There are no admins, no super users. Everyone is at the same level, and we deal with day-to-day mapping through agreement, through contact and communication with other mappers, with other group of mappers, with local communities. So we get a system, a tagging system, and everything that is done in the map. We try to do it as a community and not to have somebody that tell us what to do and how to do it. It's decided by us mappers as a part of a good community. And I added also one difference between OpenStreetMap and Wikipedia, that you need to register. In this case, it's compulsory. In the Wikipedia, you can sometimes change an article without even registering, but in OpenStreetMap, it's like something that is compulsory. A little bit about history of OpenStreetMap. Okay, OpenStreetMap is already, or will be already 16 years old this summer. It was created by one British engineer, Steve Coast, who went one day to the Ordnance Survey of the UK, and he asked for some data because he needed that data for work in the university, and they told him that he had to pay, and he had to pay a lot for the money for that data. He got a little bit angry because he said that he was already paying for that money, for that data through his taxes, and he didn't want to pay twice. So he just said goodbye. He went to his own home and he started a project to start from scratch a free database of geodata. This was in 2004, and then little by little the project in the beginning was very few people, like 2,000-3,000 people only, until in 2007 we started to hold the first conference, State of the Map, in Manchester. These State of the Map conferences take place once in a year, the global one. Then there are other State of the Maps local for local communities or for one country or things like that. Even for continents, there is OpenStreetMap, State of the Map Europe, State of the Map United States, etc. But the first one, global one, was in 2007, and every year since then there is a State of the Map conference. This year it will be 1 month or 2 months, I think. It will be in South Africa, but due to the COVID-19 crisis, it will be online for the first time in history. And then the project went on, and we have the API 0.6 since 2009 that didn't change. About this, how we organize the data in OpenStreetMap will be Michael Montani, who will talk about afterwards. Interesting for us humanitarian organizations is the Haiti earthquake in 2010. That was the first time we saw the power of the community, because many people came together to map the completely devastated Port-au-Prince city, and in only 3 days, that was incredible in that time because there were not so many users as now. In only 3 days, all the Port-au-Prince city was mapped from scratch, and with people on the ground. We made a very good routine because we could even say which roads were blocked by the debris of the earthquake. After that, there were many crises like the Typhoon Haiyan or the Ebola outbreak or the Nepal earthquake and others that were also a big success of community power and community collaboration. And nowadays, well, the number of users, of course, has been growing without stop. And now we are maybe like 6.5 million users worldwide. These are some stats. I will go fast. You know, there are like 6.5 million users nowadays, but like it happens in probably all crowdsourcing projects and communities, you will see that many of these users, they are just one-time users. They just create an account, they play a little bit with the map, and maybe they find that it's not what they want to do, and they move to another thing, and that's it. But so it's interesting to see the second graph that we have here, that is the daily active mappers. So see that we have every day more than 6,000 users active mapping, and these are volunteer mappings. So this gives you already one idea of the power of the community. If you go to see in 7 days how many mappers we have, you will see that we have more than 18,000 sometimes a little bit less, but between 17,000 and 18,000 nowadays, because this is growing. And for the last 30 days, you can see that we have almost 50,000 users active. Interesting to see is that the majority of the mappers, they do little mapping, and only like 10% of the users produce the 90% of the data. This means that yes, it's a minority of the people that really produce the majority of the data, but this gives you an idea that these users are really powerful, and they are just caring very much about the quality of the data. Let's go on. Organization. Okay, about this I could talk a lot, but I will just resume it in just 4 bullets to say how it's organized. OpenStreetMap, like the Wikipedia, has one foundation that gives support and gives a legal framework for that backs legally of all the community and all the project. This foundation is based in the UK. Like Wikipedia has the Wikimedia, and we have the OpenStreetMap Foundation. It's interesting to note that the OpenStreetMap Foundation has very little power itself. It's the main goal of the OpenStreetMap Foundation is to support the project, but not to control it. So when Michael Montani will tell you about the mapping, about the objects and how the OpenStreetMap is, how the mapping is done, you will see that everything that we do, the tagging, how we tag the objects, how we map them, is not controlled at all by the OpenStreetMap Foundation, but is controlled by the users in an horizontal, anarchic way. To support the OpenStreetMap Foundation, the practical work is carried out by different working groups. So we have the data working group, that is a very important working group that cares about the data, about vandalism, about about that the data is correct. Then we have the operational working group that cares about the servers, especially. Then we have the communication working group that cares about how to communicate with authorities, with institutions, with everyone, with the media. We have even the state of the map working group that deals with organization of the state of the map each year. And we have also the legal working group that cares about legal problems of copyright and stuff like that. Interesting. Essential to OpenStreetMap are the contributors, because the contributors are the ones who organize themselves in local communities, using for that different communication means, holding events, training, mapathons, etc. So we about the contributors, they are the core, they are the UL in OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap wouldn't be possible if we don't have mappers, if we don't have contributors. And it's important how they organize themselves. and how they communicate to make agreements on how to map the different things that we have in the world. About local communities, just to let you know that they are very key in OpenStreetMap, as Diego said already, because they, for every country, they are the ones that know best how the things are on the field. So you can map remotely in Congo, for example, but if you don't live in the Congo, probably you are not able to map things that are not possible to map remotely, and even remotely you may be mapping things in not a perfect way, and that can be corrected by the local community. And finally, please remember that all the data you upload in the OpenStreetMap is released under the ODBL license. The ODBL license, that is a free license that I will just tell you about now. So the OpenStreetMap is open data, is released, licensed under the Open Data Commons Open Database license. That is the ODBL. What that says, the ODBL says that you are free to copy, to distribute, to transmit, and to adapt our data, as long as you credit OpenStreetMap and its contributors. So this is just one of the few things that you have to do, to credit OpenStreetMap and its contributors for whichever map or a service that you base on OpenStreetMap data. And if you alter or build upon our data, you may distribute the result only under the same license. So it's not allowed to take our data, to add data on top of it, and then not to release that data under the same license. In the case you publish this data. If it is for your own consumption, there is no problem at all. So, and the cartography in OpenStreetMap tiles, if you make maps with the OpenStreetMap app, then you have to use a Creative Commons license. That is the attribution share alike 2.0. This is, I know that is probably the most boring part, but it's important to know what is the legal aspect that is behind OpenStreetMap data. So what kind of data can be used to feed the OpenStreetMap database? Mainly, the goal of OpenStreetMap is that we survey in the field. This is obviously the best, because we can see everything that we have to map, but sometimes it's not possible because we want to map remotely areas of Congo that we cannot access, probably because they are very dangerous or simply because we don't have the means to go there. So in those cases, we can map remotely using aerial imagery or drone imagery or other means of data that was collected. And there is also the possibility to import data. This is always complementary. The idea would be not to have to import data, but in the case we have to import data, the data has to be, we want to import data of a third party, of an institution or an NGO or an individual that has data. We need the approval, and the data has to be released in a license that is compatible with the ODBL. Otherwise, we cannot import the data. And after that, we have to contact the local community to tell them, okay, we want to import this data in this way and this time by these people, to get their agreement, let's say approval agreement. And then when we are all right, we write a wiki that explains all the process from the beginning to the end. And we go to a mailing list of the many mailing lists that we have in OpenStreetMap that is called imports. And there we discuss further with the global local community, with the global OSM community, so people come in and assess the data and assess the process, the workflow, and say what KPIs they can see, errors or things that should be modified or should be improved. So coming again to the copyright, I repeat, don't use never data that comes from copyrighted sources like Google Maps or any other Google service, for example. Some people don't know that Google has something that they call Easter eggs. Easter eggs are like, for example, here I add a small road that doesn't exist, or I tweak this bridge and I put it in a different way. So if you are copying the data of Google Maps, then you will copy all these Easter eggs, and then they can sue you for a copyright infringement. So it's very important to know that we should never, we must never use copyrighted data. Not only because we are not allowed to do that, but because they put measures to know if you are copying their own data. So it's really, this is really serious and really important. Please don't do it. Well, just to finish, because we are a bit late on time, on schedule, I leave you this link to a wiki of good practice, where you will find very interesting information about what we as community expect of a good mapper. What are the things that you should follow? What things are not good or not good practice as we see as community. So I am open to questions about all these subjects, goals, history. Any question? So,
hello, is it Rafael?
Hello,
yeah, this is EPA from MONUSCO. I don't know whether the question I have now on OpenStreet data and maps that are available on the website is maybe it's the right time to ask, but is for curiosity purpose. You see different types of maps that are designed on the OpenStreet website. For example, the standard that you showed from the first slides. If I, for example, like a symbology used there, you know, the color, how the colors have been chosen. Is there any way, and does it enter into, is it allowed that, you know, if it is possible to say, render or get the symbology, the similar symbology from the OpenStreetMap, and render that symbology to a map that I am using in the office, or I'm creating from the office? Is there any possibility for that?
Wait. There is a noise here now. You probably. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. No. I was waiting because there was a big noise. I think it was from you, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. It was. Sorry for that. Did you get my question?
Yeah. I got your question. Okay. For example,
yeah.
the standard rendering machine that now is called Carto. That's the name. Before it was Mapnik. All these tools, they are open source, so they are open for anyone to download them from GitHub, to install them in your own server, and to make your own tiles. So you can tweak them I mean, this is not an easy thing. You need to know. But of course, you can download the data for just one simple example. You can download the data of OpenStreetMap for one area. Let's say you want to download the data of OpenStreetMap for all the Ituri province, let's say. Then you download this data, that is OSM, that is a file. And with this file, with a plugin of QEAS, you can have this data ready for you to say, okay, I want the secondary roads to be in yellow color with this thing and that. I don't know if this is exactly what you were meaning, but rendering of OpenStreetMap, we will go on this the coming days. Is just the only limit is your imagination. I mean, because you have you have the real data, the XML data, with which you can do any kind of map, even 3G maps. That depends on the information that you get from the province. There are places in the world that are very, very well mapped, that they have a lot of information, and then you have other areas that unfortunately they didn't get much attention, and the data is poorer. There are not so much data for that. So, for example, if you want to do a 3G mapping for Ituri, probably you won't get much information because people are not mapping that. They are still more interested in mapping all the roads, to put all the little hamlets and villages all in the map, and to map things like that. Was that your question, or?
Yes. I understand the process is long, and probably as we go along with the training, we'll be able to see in a practical way how that can be done. Thank you very much for.
Sure, we will.
Yes, I will be. I will be showing some render in the next part. But maybe, yes, we can have also one section on how to deal the data in a graphic way to produce base maps.
Thank you.
You will see, Epaphroditte, you will see that we have different tools with different, pros and cons, just to download the data. So, because everything is open source, of course, there are many people that make different editors. We can edit the data, produce data with different editors. We will see today the ID editor, but we have the OSM editor, we have Vespucci, we have Mercator. There are many editors. So this is like a shop where you choose the editor that is more interesting for you, depending on what you want to do with OpenStreetMap. Then, of course, once the data is in the database, you have also different ways of downloading the data. You can download the data directly from OpenStreetMap, but you can use also Overpass. You can use the hotspot tool. You can use BBBike. There are GeoFabric. So that depends on what you want to do with the data and what kind of data you want to download. That you will use one service or the other. Some of them, they are very flexible. You can download, for example, I want to download only the roads and the villages, just that. I don't want to download more data because that will take me a lot of bandwidth. Or you can download the data already in shapefile format that you can already open in ArcGIS or QEAS, etc. So you have lots of tools, lots of services in OpenStreetMap that will probably cover all your interests and your needs. But we will see them. We will see this in the following days because that takes time, of course.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just one more second. Actually, what I wanted to mention is not about how to download the data. That is straightforward. But I don't know if you use ArcGIS, for example, and there is a way, if you have, a map that is already designed and you want to create a similar map. You can save a particular layer as a layer file and apply the symbology and the color properties of that design, map, and apply it to a new map. So I don't know whether from the OpenStreetMap, once you are interested on a particular layer, say particular road, you can be able to do almost a similar thing.
Yeah, as I tell you, well, ArcGIS I've never used it. Just this is the truth. But with QGIS, and I suppose with ArcGIS will be the same. You just there are already different what we call styles for all kind of objects, like buildings, like waterways, like highways, like all these kind of objects that you will find, hospitals, that you have already done for once, and then you want to apply all the time for different areas in the map. This is what you want. These are already there, and there are people that make these styles, and then they share them open source for the people to use. At least for QGIS, I know, and I suppose for ArcGIS there are other people that share these styles. Then the only thing that you have to do is to download the data that you want to show in the map, and then you apply the styles. That's it. So it's perfectly possible. Greetings to your son, I think.
Yeah, he's always after me. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, thank you very much for the response.
Thank you for the question.
Okay, so I will be speaking about the OpenStreetMap architecture and the components and the data model. So this part is a bit technical, so I try to keep it as simple as possible. So maybe we can have a lot of questions afterwards. So I would like to start with a comparison between the traditional GIS and the OpenStreetMap data models. So we have in traditional GIS, usually we use a proprietary data format. I mean, for the vector data, like the shapefile from Esri. While in OpenStreetMap, we use a free and open source data format. And basically the XML, so the extensible markup language, and some derivatives of it, like the OpenStreetMap data format and the OpenStreetMap history data format. And they are simply extension of the XML data format with a clear data structure. In traditional GIS, we usually have also thematic layers. So I reported an example of a geometry, and you can see we have different layers like polygons for the lake and lines for the river and points for the wells. And this is the structure of, in general, of all the vector data used in GIS, both QGIS and ArcGIS. While in OpenStreetMap, the concept is a little bit different because we don't have layers, but we have a tagging system. And objects are coupled with tags, explaining about their nature, so the attribution of additional data to the geometries. In traditional GIS, also data is typically edited by a single user through some application like ArcGIS, while in OpenStreetMap, the data is edited by multiple users at the same time. So from this comparison, there are mainly 2 points. The first point is that in OpenStreetMap is designed to edit. So every user everywhere in the world can edit the OpenStreetMap database at any time. And the other point is that as multiple users are modifying the same database, there is a need of clear rules on how to do this. And there is no association above it. There is only the community. So the tags are defined in such a way that the most used ones are also the correct ones. And the most simple way to think about OpenStreetMap is like if you think about a document, and we are all writing the same document at the same time, and we are adding blocks and also maybe deleting blocks or modifying already existing blocks. So also it is easier to think about the data schema if you think about object-oriented programming. So we have OpenStreetMap objects. Every object has an ID and some additional information like the timing at which the object was created and the user which created the objects and also other information. And within the geometric primitives, these are different from traditional GIS, as we have in GIS, we have points, lines, and polygons. Here we have nodes. Nodes are simply a pair of coordinates, and they are in WGS 84 in OpenStreetMap. And ways. Ways are a collection of nodes, and typically they are collection of the IDs of the nodes. So this means that if you modify a way by changing the position of one node, you will be modifying also the way. And modifying the node, you will be modifying also the way. The ways can be either open or closed. And this is the distinction with the polygons. Here we have only lines. If a line is closed, is automatically a polygon. And also we have another strange type of primitive, which is the relation. And the relation is a collection of different OpenStreetMap objects. And this relation is quite a difficult feature. I mean, is complex. So maybe we can see it in further trainings. We will skip it for now. Regarding to the attribution, we have the tags. The tags are giving additional information to the data, to the geometries, and they are composed by a pair of key and values, which are basically strings. And these strings are the key. The key is a topic or a category, and one key can have multiple possible values. And the value is a detail of the key feature. So the tag is composed by one key and one value. And also you can see in this image a view of the OpenStreetMap editor. And we have, for example, one way with its ID and many different tags. And these tags are like amenity equal to pub or building equal to yes. So one key and one value. And also values can be also hyperlinks. So connecting to some already existing web page. So I would like to spend some more words about the tagging system, which is the characteristic of OpenStreetMap. And we have different wikis. The most important one is the OpenStreetMap wiki. And there are several pages, like the one I will show now, with all the tagging information. So if you have any question about the mapping, you most probably will find the needed information in this wiki. So in this page called Map Features, we can see the different keys. For example, I can see the public transport, and there are all the values used for those keys. And also the elements which are referred to those tags, a description, and usually also images, and some statistics about that. For the statistics, there is also tag info, which is a website in which you can see some statistics about the tags. So you can see like the percentage of that tag in the whole OpenStreetMap database, as well how many nodes, how many ways and relations have that tag, and how many users are contributing with that tag, and so on. One important aspect about the tags is the proposal process. And okay, to propose a tag, once the key and values are defined and discussed by the community, a wiki page should be opened for that proposal, and also the community will vote about that tag and express their opinion. And after like weeks of discussion, a tag can be officialized by the community, and it can be started to be used in the OpenStreetMap database. In reality, you can also create custom tags, because you simply type a string and you are done. So you can create tags on your own. But this is it is almost impossible that that tag will continue to survive, because the community will check the tag and modify afterwards that edit and correct it to the right tagging system. Another important OpenStreetMap object is the chain set, and the chain set is a commit to the OpenStreetMap database. So it describes the user session and activity, and it is automatically compiled by the OpenStreetMap editor. So it is adding useful information like the editor you are using, or also the chain set count of a particular user, the username, and also the imagery used. And the user is only asked to provide a comment. And this is the most important part of the chain set. Indeed, with the comment, one can identify mapping campaigns by means of hashtags. So we are typically mapping with the UN Mappers hashtag. And this allows us to compute statistics and to track our activity. And also about vandalism, we were speaking before. Like in Wikipedia, these chain sets allow the community to perform rollbacks. If editing is bad, you can simply delete the chain set and recover the data in the previous situation. Now I will be speaking about the architecture of OpenStreetMap. Diego before showed the Unite Maps initiative side of this architecture. Okay, so OpenStreetMap is divided in 4 main areas, like editing, backend, rendering, and visualization. And we will go through each of them very quickly. So the backend is the part of the system working on data, and all these components are crowdsourced. So also the code is free and open, and also the servers are given from people of the community. And the database is a PostgreSQL database, and up to now is almost is more than 1,200 gigabytes. And there are different services in which you can find the data. Like Planet OpenStreetMap is a service in which you can find all the OpenStreetMap database, and also a copy of all the chain sets performed anytime in OpenStreetMap. And there are also third-party services like Overpass Turbo, GeoFabric, and Nominatim, which allow you to download specific data. For example, in Overpass Turbo, you can perform queries using the tagging system we showed before to download the data only by querying the keys and the values you need. And also these services are providing the data in a shapefile format or any other GIS friendly format. So this is quite useful. And also there is GeoFabric. GeoFabric is a service which provides regional partitions of the OpenStreetMap database. So you can download all the data present in one country or in one continent and so on. While for Nominatim is the geocoding service of OpenStreetMap. It is also implemented in the search bar of the main OpenStreetMap website. And it allows you to perform geocoding, so to type the name of a road and find that particular road and vice versa. About the editors, editors are one of the most important part of OpenStreetMap architecture. And they simply are software which allow the user to ingest and display satellite imagery. And this imagery is typically given by companies like Bing or Maxar. And also they allow a contributor to draw geometries and add tag information. And finally, they compile and perform the chain set when the user finishes his mapping work. And there are two editors. The main ones are ID Editor, which is a web-based editor you can find directly in the OpenStreetMap web page, and we will be using it now for a hands-on activity with Rachele. And it is ideal to learn OpenStreetMap for the first time, but it is more suggested to use JOSM for an advanced editing, because it is way easier, and it has also many shortcuts and plugins. Also, JOSM is an offline tool based on Java, so it is quite useful to to map with communities in Africa, because internet connection may be difficult to have it constantly. So it can be quite useful in those places. Having a look to the ID editor, we see okay, the OpenStreetMap web page, and the web page is using the same language of your browser. And funnily enough, also the translation of the editors are in all the OpenStreetMap websites is provided by the community. So the community is also translating the pages. And in this case, we can see the editor with the area, which I can map, choosing points, lines, or areas. And then I can add tags on the left with many key and values couples that I can choose. JOSM, on the other hand, is more complicated from an interface point of view, because ID Editor is more user-friendly. But you have a lot of plugins and shortcuts you can use you can use, and also the imagery choice. You have access to different images, and also you can put your own images on that. And also there is the possibility to change the color of your objects in such a way you can edit with the colors you like the most. About the rendering and visualization, we received some question before, so maybe I can further speak about this. The renderers are servers which are provided also from the community, and they are compiling rasters from the OpenStreetMap base map. So they take the OpenStreetMap vector data and they produce base maps on it, and they are continuously working. So when you edit the OpenStreetMap data, it goes directly to the database, but you can see it on the map only like 5 or 10 minutes after, because the renderers are working and compiling the data of all the world every time. So there are also different services to visualize data, like OpenLayers is a JavaScript language in which you can in which you can simply use the OpenStreetMap data to perform custom visualization, or also Mapbox, which is a company which is also giving the possibility to create the custom products on OpenStreetMap and to create base maps. So maybe EPA is interested into these ones. Okay, then there are also many other types of application, and I'm not here to mention them all because there are so many, also including the Unite Maps software we are producing and other services. Maybe we can go through the wikis we have. So, for example, we have our own wiki, and like the one of Mappers, you can see in this wiki all the projects we are working on and the imports we are conducting, also our social media, so you can follow us. And we have also many editing guidelines. So for example, this editing guideline is for Somalia, for UNSOS, and we can see all the tags we are using, the main ones, what they mean, and also some images, both aerial images and street level imagery. So these images are provided by the community. So we are in Mogadishu here, and we have primary, secondary, and tertiary roads, and also other images, all coming from the community. And then, okay, we have also the leaderboard. So here you can find the statistics. They are updated. They are still static, but they will become dynamic very soon. And you can find a leaderboard with all the users which are contributing and the number of edits they are performing. So up to now, we have in top 3 Jirachi, Monkey King, Spike 73, but okay, I hope to see you in the top 10 leaderboard. And okay, so I think I finished. So if you have some questions on this technical part, I'm here to answer.
Michael, this is Yasenko here. I just want to say thank you for presentation, both for you and previous one from Rafael. It was very informative and a lot of new things to learn. And thank you very much for that.
The fun begins here with the practical part, because we will start to work on the maps and to do something concrete. So please, I ask you, if you have any question, to drop a message in the chat in the right part of your screen, and because I will go on with the presentations, and my colleagues will then answer the questions that maybe you have. So we will see now the ID editor, which is the web-based editor for OpenStreetMap. As Michael said before, it's good for the newcomers, for the learners, because it's simple and it's friendly to use. And it's also useful when we have very small and easy changes to make to the map, because in just 2-3 minutes we will have the work done. In this section, we will see how to create our OSM account, the editing part with ID, so the user interface, how to change the imagery, the walkthrough, and how to upload our data to OSM. And in the final part, we will do some exercises. We will have like 40 minutes for the exercises, more or less. So Without going further, I think that the first thing that we must do is just open our OpenStreetMap account. To do that, I ask you to go to the page of openstreetmap.org. Maybe I can put the link here in the chat. So this is the page. I ask you to go there, and in the upper corner here, look, there is the Sign Up button. So and here you must just enter your email address, choose a username. The username can be everything, the name that you like the most, and also you can think that you will be able to change it in a second time. So don't worry about what are you choosing now, because you will be able to change it. And of course, select your password. Once you have done this, just click on Sign Up, and you will receive an email to confirm to do the confirmation of the registration. So I ask you to do this right now. I will let you 5 minutes to start with that, and we answer your questions if there are many or some issues in this part in the chat. Yes, we ask you if you could please send your username in the chat, so that we know who are you, and we can link the two things. Yes, and as Alessandro said, the email will be never shown to anyone and anywhere. You can use your UN official mail or your personal mail. It's not a problem. So I let you 5 minutes to do that. Thank you. I see the first one. Account. It's strange because today is going very smooth, this part. Usually we have a lot of problems in the registration part, and it's good, it's good.
That probably means we have a very experienced user. Thanks.
Yeah, I think too. Okay, remember to confirm the email to activate the account. Okay, and once you have done, just log in. Log in into OpenStreetMap. So I think we are ready. So this is the OpenStreetMap user interface. As you can see here, now we have our username. We can see the message that other users have sent to us. So it's a mailbox, our profile, and our settings. To my profile, you can see the nearby users, where are you, and your edits. This is important, you will see later, because clicking in your edits, you can see where have you been working. So in the last mapping sessions, okay, and you can find your change sets to the map. So, being back. Now, we can see that we have, so for example, the zoom in and zoom out that we can do with the buttons, but we can do also scrolling the wheel of the mouse. Here, show my location will show your location, of course. The layers, and here we have the rendering. So for example, the standard map, the cycle map. So we have some renders here, and the transport map and the humanitarian one. So we can have, for example, we can share the screen that we are looking for, and we can add notes to the map, or we can query the features. For example, if I go here and I want to query, it's not querying because I'm not, okay. We need doing more zoom. And so if I click here, I see the nearby features that there are in the map. In this case, we have only one, and this is the water Merower reservoir. Okay, but okay, and here we have all the informations about the feature, about this feature. But as you can see, we cannot edit the map. How we can edit the map? To edit the map, I have some problems. I don't know why now it's frozen everything. Just a moment. Well, okay, because it was selecting too much thing. Okay, okay. We have the edit button here upside, but it's not activate. To activate the button, we must. No, sorry, it's frozen. Everything is freeze, and I cannot. So I will do like that. This is the real-time problem. Okay, now we are here. Okay, to activate the button, we must zoom in into the map. So once we have zoom in, we can see that the edit button is active, and just click on edit. Now we are inside the ED editor, and from here we can start changing, adding, modifying everything. So as Michael told us before, we have three types of features, geometries, that are points, lines, and areas. From here we will see how this works. Here in the right side, we have, sorry, in the left side, we have the inspect pane, where if we choose, when we choose an object, we will see the fields to fill, and on the right side we have always the zoom in and zoom out, the show my location. But here, instead of the renderings, we have the backgrounds that we can use to map. For example, here we have the Bing imagery, Esri imagery, Mapbox, and Maxar. Okay, there are many differences between the imagery. You must try to understand, looking at the imagery, which is the one that is more updated. So Maxar usually is a good choice. Bing has not always, but many times some old imagery. So we are using Maxar the most. Okay, and also we can scroll down and we see that we can change the brightness and the contrast and the saturation of the of all these characteristics of the imagery to have a better imagery to map. Because if we maybe we need to move the contrast to see better in a better way some features. So, and also we can adjust the offset of the imagery, because maybe some mapping was done with Bing, and now we have Maxar imagery, and then we have that the roads and the buildings and the features are not coincident with the background, and so we can move our image to have the best visualization of the data. From here, from map data, we can choose if turn on and off the features, if turn on and off the nodes, because we can add the nodes to the map just to identify some issues that we can find. And we can, for example, also overlay, while we are mapping, some imagery from the ground, like Street View. For example, here we have Mapillary. We can add the imagery from Mapillary, which is this site, and that has Street View imagery crowdsourced. And for example, here we are in Brindisi, near our base. I suppose this is Alessandro. Our colleague Alessandro has done a very great work mapping in Brindisi, and here we have the imagery. So perhaps we need to know if here there is, I don't know, in this case we have the base, but it could be a coffee or a shop or something like that, and then we can put it on the map. If we could have, for example, the imagery here, this would be very important to know what there is in the ground, because from the satellite imagery we cannot know. And we will speak about Mapillary in the next trainings, I think, in the next section. So we can also choose the style of the data, how to see.
Sorry, Rachele. Someone has written he or she can't see the screen. Someone else are facing problem?
No, I can see the screen. Maybe the guy has to log in another time to the call. I mean, to join the call another time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so please wait just a few seconds.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Yes, we can. If you cannot see the screen, shared, you can just exit the meeting and re-entry, and then magically, if you are lucky, you can see the screen. No, it happened a lot of times to me too. So it's like when a computer is not working.
It seems okay. You can go ahead, please.
Okay, perfect. So we can, I was saying that we can choose the style of the data. So we can see these thin lines, or we can we can decide how is better to us for map, and also which features we want to see in the map. So we can, for example, I can switch on and off the buildings, the paths, the traffic roads, for example. But of course, if you are mapping and you want to avoid to make errors or overlap things, the best way to map is to have everything on, so that you can see what are you doing. Here we can see the issues, if there is something that that is not good, that if there are some errors, the preferences about the privacy, and this is the most important part when you start mapping, to understand how to start and where to start and how to map. So you can see here the start the walkthrough. I invite you to join, and this will take 15-20 minutes to do. I will do together with you. You can go at your own pace. I will start now, and so if you have any issue here, also write on the chat. Okay. So welcome to the walkthrough. It's okay. This start with a very basic instructions, like left click 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have done. And now right click. So with the mouse. So navigation, click on navigation to continue. To drag the map, I usually press the left mouse, button mouse, okay. And for zoom in and zoom out, always like so, or scrolling the wheel of the mouse. So we use the word features to describe the things that appear on a map. So everything can be represented, as we have been saying, with points, lines, and areas. Okay, it is like every GIS, no? Okay. Just in OpenStreetMap, the lines and the areas are called ways, and we don't have the polygons, no? All features on the map can be selected by clicking on them. So just select here. Okay, great. This point is now selected. Okay, and in the pane here we can see all the information related to this object. So it's a town hall, the name is Three Rivers City Hall, and the address of the point. So okay. Yes, in the top part of the feature editor shows the feature type. So this is the main tag, and the fields. We don't need to fill always all the fields. It's not mandatory. The important one is this at the top. So the first one. The others, if we know, better. But if we don't know, it's okay. So and okay, and then we can exit from here. So we can search some objects just writing here, like Spring Street, okay, and this will select the street. So we can see Spring Street, and now is selected. Okay, It's a residential road, Spring Street, and we can add, for example, if it's a one-way or not, the speed limit, the lanes, the surface. So for this selected street, the feature editor shows fields like one-way and speed limit. Okay, yes, we can close now. Then we move to the points. Okay. So points can be used to represent features such as shops, restaurants, and monuments. They mark a specific location and describe what is there. So click on the point and imagine that we have here in this building, for example, this point, and that is a cafe. So the point is now marked as a cafe. And using the feature editor, we can add more information. For example, the name, I will call UNGSC Cafe. Imagine a name. And let's pretend that you have local knowledge on this cafe and you know its name. Okay, and I have put this. When you are finished adding the name, hit escape, enter, or click here. That we have our coffee is here in the map. It's okay. So often points will already exist but have mistakes or be incomplete. So sometimes we see that, for example, there is a lot of data, but we can add more data. For example, we can add also the hours, the timing, the timetable, the address, if there is an internet connection, so many things. It's always a good point to add more details. Okay, so let's fill in some more details for this coffee. You can change its name because now UNG's coffee is this coffee and it's not anymore the UNGC, and it's okay. So you can right click on the features to see the edit menu. So if we right click, okay, what happened? What happens that like in the real world, I like to think about map like organisms, living organisms, no, that they are always changing because real world change every day, and so we must change our maps. And to do that, for example, we can just delete our coffee. Now it's closed, but we can also, if it was a mistake, we can go back and just let it there. Okay. Now we are ready to go to map areas. So areas are used to show the boundaries of features like lakes, buildings, and residential areas. For example, at the UNGSC, when we map, as you can see, I think in our maps, we are mapping a lot, for example, with the areas, the land cover and the land uses. So, yes, they can also be used for more detailed mapping of many features. So let's start with this area. Okay, let's add this playground. So here, just clicking, I'm adding this playground. Okay, search for playground. Here it is. Okay, this playground doesn't have an official name, so we won't add it anything in the name. Instead, let's add some additional details about the playground. So here, and we can enter a description of the playground. For example, we can dogs allowed, is okay, and we can add that there is some only for kids. It's okay. Under 3 years. for example, or only 8 years. Okay, and then, okay, we have done this job. Good job. Try drawing a few more areas if you want. Okay, we can see. Then we can select our feature and we can see all the data that we have inserted. Here in the tag description, you have like a resume about what we are mapping. So description, the description, and leisure playground. Okay. Now we can go on with our lines. So lines are used to represent roads, railroads, and rivers. So the waterways and so on. Click the line button to map them. So now we will map this road. It's very important when you are mapping in OpenStreetMap with lines. When you map, for example, roads, tracks, waterways, railroads, that you try to connect them to the net. So, like I will do right now, we map and we connect our track, our road, our path to the net, to the existing net. So, and then we can go there. Okay. Then we can choose the type of our road. In this case, we are in a residential area, so we will choose the residential road. We will see further in the trainings that there is, for example, for Africa, a very good wiki page about how to tag the roads in Africa, the highways in Africa. And it's a very beautiful page with a lot of information. And so we have here our residential road. So give this road a name, and of course this road, for example. So, and okay, now we can see that we have the name in our road. So looks good. Next we will learn how to update the shape. Well, what's happened? It happens a lot in the highways, but also in the waterways, that they change the shapes. So we must update our map, and to do that we need just to select our nodes or to create new nodes and then move them to have a better quality result. Okay, now it's okay with the imagery. Okay, so again, sometimes we need to delete these objects, and to do this with the lines is a bit different respect with the points, because maybe we need just to delete some parts of them and not all the line. In this case, what we will do, we will split it. So here we can see that the upper part of the road is not existent because we have a wood and there is no road. Okay, so we can just select this node, right click, and split the way. So now we can select the upper part, and we see that also this segment is not present. So with shift click, and so we have selected both segments, and now with right click, delete. Okay, and now our map is perfect. Another important feature that we usually map are the buildings. No, OpenStreetMap is the world's largest database of buildings. And all these buildings are downloadable. It's something really useful. So we can improve this database by tracing buildings. So now we can see how we can map a building. It's very easy. So we just follow the shape of the building, double click at the end so the line is closed, and we have our polygon. We choose our building. So we choose our building type. Pay attention that usually when you do remote mapping, you don't know the functionality of this building. So usually when we map from remote, we map like a building, yes. But if we know the functionality of the building, of course, we can choose like a house, apartment, garage, etc. So in this case, we have a house. We can add some details if we want, like also the levels, the height, the address, okay? But for now, we will let this like that, building, house, and it's okay. What's happened? It happens often that the shapes are not very good, and so what we need to do, and I ask you please to keep this very important information, because the quality of the map will be better to all, and it's like one click, or if you use the shortcut 1K, and it's the Q, and that will square the building, and so we have this beautiful building in our map. But what happens when we have a circular one? Yeah? It's practically the same. So we will start mapping. So our building like that. Okay, it's a storage tank. So storage tank. Here we have. So it's okay. We can add the operator, the content, the material, building, the height, the capacity, a lot of information that right now we don't have. And okay. And also for the circular buildings, it's exactly the same, that we need to make them perfect. So with the right click, we have this beautiful circle. Okay. And so, and here, okay, we have finished this very quick tutorial. Okay. But in this tutorial, there is a thing. It's missing a thing, a very important thing for everyone who is mapping on OpenStreetMap. Okay, because our data is still in our computer. It's not in the map. It's in our browser. It's not yet in OpenStreetMap. So. How we can upload our data? Simply like that. So let's, for example, map this building. This is the real map. Is not anymore the tutorial. So I have found this building. I will search like building. No. Okay. Why select feature type? Okay. Building.
You map the building as a line.
As line. Ah. Wait.
This is the ID editor.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah, right. Okay, here. Okay, so I have my building. Yes, building. Okay, I press Q. Look, it was so. If I press just the QK, I have all the QK, or right click and then square. We have this beautiful building and it's okay. Okay. So what I will do now is upload this data to OpenStreetMap. To do it, I just click Save here. I can add a change set comment. So, for example, added building, and I can also add some hashtags to keep track of these modifications that I'm doing. For example, I can add UNGSC and I can add UN mappers. So that once I want to find what I have done, I just search the hashtag UN mappers and I can find all the objects that were inserted on the map with this tag. Okay, and just upload and upload. Okay, now the changes are being uploaded. Okay, the rendering of the map, it's more or less in real time. It depends on the quantity of the mapping that you have done, and sometimes it takes some minutes to see on OpenStreetMap. Sometimes some hours. But don't worry that if you have seen that the changes are uploaded, so you will see in OpenStreetMap. So we can see view changes on OpenStreetMap. If we click here, we are now in OpenStreetMap. Okay, as you can see, the rendering is not updated, but it's okay. Now we know that we have uploaded our object. So this is the change set, added building, our hashtag, by who, and the tags related with these objects. In addition, we can start a discussion with the users. For example, we find an object that we are not so sure about that or about what was mapped by other user. Then we can just drop a message there and the user will receive our text, and then we can start the discussion with them. So, and also if you click on your username, your profile will be open, and here in your edits you can see your last edit was added a building 2 minutes ago. And if I click here, I go back here. So I think I have told more or less all the basic things in this mapping part, and now we can start mapping. We can start the real mapping now, and the exercise that we would like to do with you, which is this one. Sorry. Okay, we will do an exercise on MapRoulette. MapRoulette is a service, is a site in which we can find some challenges regarding some OpenStreetMap bugs or some OpenStreetMap areas where we want to improve the data. So Rafael has opened this challenge for us to map settlements, residential areas, and road accesses on MapRoulette. So we can write this link to the in the chat, so that you can access it. And I will give the floor now to Rafael to explain us better the exercise. Thank you very much, and we are here for your questions.
Okay, Michael has already do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so
Rafael, excuse me, just before continue, now when we create login and we are able to edit, how we can be connected to you and Mappers group?
I don't know if I am. Yeah. Go ahead.
So when you contribute to OpenStreetMap, if you are submitting chain sets with the comment hashtag UMMappers, you will be counted as UMMapper. So you are inside the community.
Thank you. This is how it works. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will open the link that Michael has given in the here in the. Well, I hope you are watching well the screen that I am sharing. So just click here, and you will open the challenge. Okay, this challenge MapRoulette, we use it for normally for fixing or improving the map in a kind of roulette way. So you just will start, and then it will take you to a random task, and it will ask you to do something. This MapRoulette that I opened yesterday asks only for settlements to add the residential areas where they are not there, or just to modify them. I mean, to correct the residential areas of some of the places in one of the provinces that is, if we do zoom out, you will see is the province that is in the northeastern point of Somalia, that is called Bari province. So if you in the challenge, what you will see is that it will take us in a random way to different places. They are like 200 places. Some of these places, they lack the residential area of the place. Sometimes the residential area is mapped, but is not correct. Correctly, the geometry is not correct. And some other places, they don't have the road access to the place, so we have to add the road access. And sometimes the road access is not correct. This is what we ask in this MapRoulette. But on top of that, we will just add some buildings, so you can practice also building mapping. Building mapping is not in this is not asked for this MapRoulette, but the reason I didn't add it is because this MapRoulette, in fact, will be there, and other mappers from wherever, they will come from time to time and they will solve some tasks. And if I ask them to map all the buildings, this MapRoulette would be very, very long, and people would get tired, and maybe they wouldn't finish the MapRoulette. So I just kept it simple. But for us, only for us, we will correct or add the residential areas of every place that we choose. We will add or correct the road accesses if needed, and we will just add some buildings just to practice. So first of all, I will do two tasks myself. You will just watch, and you will see what is the procedure that we have to follow. So the first thing that you have to do is to click on Start here in this button. So we click Start, and the challenge will take us directly to one place. The place is here. As we can see, the place has the residential area already mapped, but we will see. Second thing is here, the edit. But before you edit, you have to make sure that you will choose the ID editor, because this is the editor that we are practicing today. So make sure that the editor is ID here, and then you only click edit. When you click edit, a new tab in your browser will open, and then you can edit with the ID. So I will see what we have here. Let's wait a little bit. If you didn't log in, then you will be asked to log in. In my case, I had login already, so it takes me directly to the. So let's zoom out a little bit, and we see that okay, the residential area, in my opinion, is not very correct, because we have all this area. You see all this area that is not residential anymore, and it's marked as residential area. So let's practice what would be correct in this area. As you can see in ID, you have to click on this, and then you have the nodes that we can change. Let's change like that, maybe. For a good residential area, we should keep as closer as possible to the buildings. So as Rachele has told you, you have the nodes. These are the nodes that form the way, the object, but also you have these kind of triangles that let you create a new node. So with this, I can create a node if I want. If I am not happy, I can always go back, and maybe I can reuse this node like this. I can go back here. Maybe now these nodes, I can delete them. I can delete also this node. You see, these are the things that you have to practice yourself, and if you have problems, of course, you will tell us. Here, well, we could say that this is a residential. Maybe it's a bit far from the houses, but let's leave it like that for the moment. Here, I would say this is too much, so I will do like this. Click again here. Maybe we can do like this. Okay, this is a practice, so we don't have to be so. It's not so important that we do the best job now. And here I would do like that. Let's click, delete. Let's click here, delete. I have to admit that I don't use ID very much. I use it for small things, like Rachele said. But as soon as I have to map a lot of things, then I use the OSM because it's much faster. Well, okay, we can do a new node here. You see now the residential area is more accurate. You see what I mean with correcting a residential area, and then we can see what happens with the road access. Okay, I can see that this road is there and is quite well mapped. This one is also quite accurate, but I see here one road that doesn't exist. I can see which kind of road is this one. And it comes from this import of 2011 that is very bad. So maybe in this case, this road I can simply delete it. or I could modify it, but it would be quite difficult. So let's say maybe here is okay, but I am not sure. I would say there is no road here. So at the very least, we can, in this place, we can cut here, and then this part of the road we can just delete it. So we can also delete this node, and now we have something that is more real. You see? Well, to speak about these roads that you will find in Somalia that are not good, it would take me a little bit of time. But this was an import of data of 2011 that was really wrong now, and we are suffering because we see it everywhere. So we have to fix all these things little by little, but you know, all Somalia will take a lot of time. And then I will just to end. So the task of the MapRoulette would be finished already, but I will just map some buildings so you can see how we can map buildings. So to map buildings, you just click here in area, and then you just create the area. You have to click in the first of the nodes. As this building is a square, you should click right click on the feature, on the object, sorry, and then you could make it a square. So you click on this icon, and now the building is a square. Because the building, I don't know what kind of building is, I just leave it like that. You can see that it's a building, yes, here in the tags at the end. Okay, the fact that the language is not English here is because the ID takes the language of the browser. And me, in this case, I forgot to change to English, so it's taking my own language. But you know, it's the same thing in every language. Another building, I click again area. So this is the procedure. You just click carefully, and that's another building. Obviously, it's a square, so I square it, and then I click on building, and you can see that this building, yes. I can go to the next. I will try to find if there is a building that has different shape. For example, this one has a shape that is not exactly rectangular. So I will just click on it. And then I can square already. So this is a square, this is nice, and it's a building again because I don't know what it is. Sometimes you can find buildings that are, you know perfectly that is a mosque. Maybe this one is a mosque, but I am not sure. So in that case, you can say, let's say that this building was a mosque. We will suppose that is a mosque. So in this case, I would square it, and then here I would change the type of the building, and I would choose mosque if it isn't here. You see church, but there is no mosque here. Okay. In the case there is no mosque, I can write it mosque. So if I click again, you will see that the building is a mosque. But well, okay, in this case it is not a mosque, of course, it's just a building that we don't know which kind of building, so we click building yes. So this is a typical building mapping. That is very important. Sometimes it's tedious because you have many buildings, and okay. We have by chance we have some round buildings here that they are huts. I will map just one, just to show you. We click here in area, we approach a little bit, and we do as Rachele said. We just add some nodes. Then we click, right click again, and we make it round. Then for a building, we can say that is a hut. That should be, in this case, should be here. You see, hut. So in this case, it's a building, it's a hut. Okay, I don't know if you have any question about this. And I can move on. In this case, as you see, I mapped only some buildings, and I will move to another one. So before I move, I can click on Save, upload the data. So we click here, and then we will see that in the comment, the comment is interesting because you will tell other mappers what you have done. The hashtags, they don't tell much things. So we usually add to the comment what we have done. So I have deleted one road, inexistent road, added some buildings, and corrected the residential area. This is a nice comment because other mappers, they will see from you what you have done, and they don't have to dig in on the data that you have changed it. If you don't leave a comment, they don't know exactly what you have done. And they can know, of course, but they have to download the data of the change set and see what you have done, what you have deleted, what you have added, what you have modified, etc. So if you give a comment, this is nice for other users because they don't lose much time, and they will see that you are a nice mapper, that you leave comments for others. Okay, once it's finished, we have to here, if there are no errors, we will see that we have the upload or update the data. This is the button, so we click. It's uploading to OpenStreetMap server. And now all this data, all the modifications of the data, the road that was deleted, and these few buildings and the hut that we have done, they are already there, and the renderers will start to render the data. Just to mention or recalling one thing that that Michael and also Diego and maybe me also we have said. Do you remember the road that I have deleted? Well, in fact, this road is not completely deleted. I mean, if for any reason we want to recover this road, it's still there in the database. So it's not completely. It's like in the Wikipedia. You move to a new version of the wiki page, and the versions before, they are there still. So you can always read them. The same happens with OpenStreetMap. We can go back to the MapRoulette, and we can say, okay, I fix it. It asks us to leave a comment. We can say no problem to fix it or whatever. We can write whatever we want, of course. And we just say submit. And immediately it takes us to the next challenge. So we have again one place that has one residential area already there. There is a road, and we can edit. I will just edit a little bit, or maybe I can stop here, but let's see a little bit what we will find. So this MapRoulette is nice for when we do training, because it lets us have the people attending to the training to practice mapping without interacting one with the other, because every task in the MapRoulette will be your own task, and nobody else will be doing the same task at the same time. So in this case, we have the residential area is quite okay. Maybe it's too tight and leaves some buildings outside, so we can click here. We can maybe move a little bit these nodes. We can click also this node outside here like that. And now it's more or less okay. Maybe this, yeah. Now it's okay. About the road that traverses, maybe this road is wrong. We can click on it and just move it, or I'm not sure if it is wrong. I will leave it for the moment. But it's true that there is a road coming this way and then traversing the river and going on. So I will just for the sake of practice, I will tell you how we can start one new road. So I click in this to start a new road from here. I click on this node of this road, and then I click in line here, not in area, but in line. I click in line, I click here, and then I start to make the road. When I traverse the river, because it's a ford, it's not a bridge, I have to make sure that I join the waterway with one node. Then I go on this way, and we can go on making the road. You see, more or less like this. Try not to use many nodes because they will overcharge them. And that's it. I will stop here because we don't have too much time. I don't want to waste your time. But once we finish, it takes me to many possibilities here. So I will just write highway or road, maybe, or track, no, road. Well, I have a problem here because of the language, so I will put a carretera. Well, this is the problem of having the, okay. In any case, I put it in my language. This road is Strada, so why is not the road here? Something is happening here. I think if I put highway, if I put road, there should be roads here.
It is giving you information about the node, so maybe you have to select again the way.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. You see, as you can see, I don't have much. Okay. So this would be, that would be minor road that is in here. The problem is that I had, I had the last node selected, not the road itself. So he didn't. Okay. So this is a minor road. I click in minor road, and then it will give me the different possibility. In this case, it's a minor road without classification. I will click on it. And well, I don't know the name, of course. There is no only sense. We don't have a limit of speed and things like that. But maybe for the surface, we can say that is unpaved. This is a nice thing that we can add, especially when we map in Africa, because many of the roads, only 3% of the roads, they are paved, as far as I know. And what else I think this is enough. Highway unclassified, surface unpaved. This is the tagging that we'll give to this road. That is unfinished. somebody else will finish it in the future. So, and buildings, okay, we can again map buildings. We go to area, we click here, 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 here. Then we can make it a square, and we say that is a building. Another one, if you like. You see? Having the buildings mapped is tedious, but it's very interesting because we can make a population estimation. We can use them to map well the POIs and so on. So when I am done, at least for the MapRoulette I am done, so I can upload the data. Again, I get the first part of the comment already there with the hashtags, and then I can say that added one road. By the way, I will come back here. When we cross one waterway without a bridge, we can click on the node that is the crossing, and we can add a ford. You see? That I think is this one. For you, maybe? No, it's not that. If I put like that, Vado, yeah. Yeah, this one, ford, yes. So that means that you know, the road will cross the waterway through a ford. Now I will just upload all the data. Added one road, added one ford, corrected residential area, and added some buildings. That would be a very nice comment. There is a problem here. There is an area. Oh, okay. This building should be a building, yes, not an area, yes. So now it's corrected. And now I can upload. And now there are no problems. The comment is there. I can upload the data. It's uploading to the OpenStreetMap database. And then I can go back to the challenge and I say I fix it. I put a comment. Added and corrected things. This is a comment just for the MapRoulette, so it's not important. Submit, and this challenge is done. And it takes me to the next one. You see, for example, in this challenge here, there is no residential area. I could just open to edit, just for you to know. This is a case, but I won't solve it. I will just skip it. So, well, this is a very, very small place. It's just a place with only one building. So making a residential area here would be a little bit strange. Oh, again, I have the same problem than before. I have to click on the way, not the node, and now I can say that this is a residential area. See? So land use residential, and then it's okay. I can map also the building inside. This one is a square. I can say that is a building, yes, that's okay. And well, it seems that the access is there, but it's not very good. I think this road is not good. So we can cut it here. And that's it. I just select this and I delete. So the access really comes from this road, but it would take me time to find what is the linking road. Maybe this one. Okay, so I can go on with this one. I will do it quite quickly. And then we have this place. We have another place here, you see, that we should add to the map. And the access to our little house that is there. There is another little house here. Isolated dwellings there. I linked with this road that is there. And I proceed to go to my place that is over here. Okay, so at least we have linked the place with the rest of the network that is over here. Okay, so I can upload and say that added road access to an isolated dwelling. That's it. Well, there is a line that doesn't. Oh, okay. I forgot to put the tags for the line. That is this one. So it's a minor road. It's okay already. We can add the surface that is unpaved, and that's it. We validate here, and now we can again upload the data. Now the comment is there still, and we can uploading the data to the OpenStreetMap server. Finish. We can say fix it. Isolated dwelling. Access and building. Submit. And we have done 3 challenges. So now I don't know if I have to give the floor to Rachele, but the thing that we have to do is just to practice this. So just open the MapRoulette link that we have here from Michael Montani in the chat, and then please go on practicing this. And any question, issue, problem that you have, please write here in the chat, and we will try to help you. Okay, thank you.
Rafael Yasenko here. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. Just small questions to check if I understand well. I already checked this editing, but I have a problem using tablet at home. I have to do it from the office with the mouse and big screen and so on. My question is there any reference material about ID editor and JOSM, which we can find on Wiki or somewhere?
Yeah, well, about ID, maybe Rachele can give more input. For the ID, you have, apart from the tutorial that you have in the OpenStreetMap page for ID, you have one nice page site that is called Learn OSM that has a tutorial of an idea that it's maybe more more examples and
can you please share the link with us?
The link is this one. It's very easy because without www, so it's like just like learnosm.org.
Okay. And another question is if I am in some area there is no features and I want to update and put some roads and buildings and so on. If I would like to create a map after updating OpenStreet's data, then I should use Mapbox application to try to create a map based on the OpenStreet data which I updated.
But if you want to, okay, one thing that is important to notice is that the OpenStreetMap project is a project to create data. So we are not data consumers. We don't do, generally speaking, we don't do anything with the data. We just create data, and it's other people that are using the data for different purposes. When you say that you want to use the OpenStreetMap or OpenStreetMap data to do rendering and things like that, then you should know exactly what you want to do. If you want to create a...
I can use QGIS and download this portion of this area and then create a map. Yeah, okay, this is what was a...
Yeah, this is one thing that you can do. Then there are services online like UMap that is very interesting. There are many servers, services. Some of them they are free to use and they are very cool, but some others they are for under payment, and you have to pay every month a fee to use their services. You have many ways to download the data. Then with the data you can use many software like QGIS, but other too. And
yes, if I can add, also in QGIS, in ArcGIS, I think I don't know exactly in ArcGIS, but I'm sure in QGIS there are plugins to download OpenStreetMap data, also to do queries. So it is quite easy to get the data. Yes. And also there are the services that I showed before, like GeoFabric and Overpass Turbo, which allows you to download the data in a shapefile format or any other vectorial format.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, one of these plugins, just to add from Michael, it's called Quick OSM. It's for QGIS. It's called Quick OSM. With Quick OSM, you can download, as Michael said, you can download directly the data from OpenStreetMap into QGIS, or also you can download the data with maybe OSM, save it in your computer, and then use this file to import it in QGIS, and then you can apply different styles, maybe styles that you have already for many features, or styles that you will do one by one in a personalized way. The possibilities are all the possibilities that you want, and we can talk about this data consuming and data and uses of data in other coming trainings. Now we will focus today and tomorrow and the next day we will focus on producing data. I mean the mapping. What is OpenStreetMap all about? So don't worry, because we have many days ahead, and we will do cool things and things that you really need, and you will be happy to see what we can do with OpenStreetMap.